Hey, deserving listener, Love is Blind, Season 7. Let's see what comes flying out of my face as I watch.
I'll be chained to her.
Yeah, probably.
You know, whatever she says goes.
We know.
There's definitely things that we're both picky about, but she has a little bit longer of a list than mine. I want someone to be very
It's because I'm so perfect, it's hard for him to come up with things. Are you being serious? Yeah. I'm easy to fall in love with. Oh my God.
Okay, I wondered if that was edited funny. They might have added a little beat there to make it more awkward between the time that Hannah says, I'm perfect, and then the mom says, are you being serious? But that's interesting. I wonder what this means. The mom is reacting, I think, in our stead. It's like, wow, that's really arrogant, and that's it's sort of like when you're being interviewed and you're saying, my only weakness is I don't have any weaknesses. That's a huge red flag that the person has a shit ton of weaknesses, right? When someone says, I'm perfect, I don't have to change anything. Oh boy. The amount of things and the intensity of those things that need to be changed have just been pulled into focus. So for the mom, she's like, are you being serious? I wonder if the mom is thinking, you have a lot of issues that you got to work on, or if the mom is just thinking, wow, everyone has issues or everyone has things that they have to change. So I wonder. Then the other thing I wonder is if the mom is surprised by Hannah's demeanor here, in that Hannah isn't usually like this. So if that's true, is Hannah playing it up for the cameras? Is she just awkward? Is she different now or something? Or the mom hasn't seen her in this context?
Are you being serious? Yeah. I'm easy to fall in love with. Oh my gosh.
Me too.
Yeah, me too.
That's one thing my kids do not lack is confidence. That's just like how I am. My way or the highway. And like I nitpick him. And I just can't help it.
Okay, we heard a little insertion of something that the mom said, maybe not in this moment, but that she said that if it's one thing my kids don't lack is confidence. That's interesting. I wonder what sort of confidence Hannah and, what was the brother's name? Cabe or something? I think I wrote it down. Cade. And so is it arrogance, confidence, or is it healthy confidence, or is it self-centered, narcissistic confidence, unrealistic confidence, defensive confidence? What'd they say here?
That's one thing my kids do not lack is confidence. That's just like how I am. My way or the highway. And like I nitpick him. And I just can't help it. Like she always finds something with a guy. Okay,
so then Hannah seems to be saying that, as she has said earlier, that she nitpicks and it's not a good thing that she's doing that. But at the same time, Hannah often will have other things to say or behaviors, or even kind of indicate in moments like this that she thinks that maybe it's okay to nitpick. It's just like, I nitpick him all the time and maybe I need to have more patience, but he is just so frustrating. So what else am I supposed to do? So I think that Hannah is still developing self-awareness around that. And then the mom says that, yeah, she nitpicks other men in the past, which is interesting to hear, which isn't super surprising. Yeah. And the brother, Cade, was saying that Hannah has issues with dishing it out and not being able to take it, right? So, and it's good that the family members are able to confirm these things. I wonder how many family members would not say bad things about their family member on camera. It's helpful for us to hear this confirmation, but it also makes me wonder what the dynamics are like in the family. What's going on there.
He does this, so I can't. You know what I mean? So for her just to be even interested,
making it this
yeah,
far,
it's
yeah.
like then there must be something.
I'm very overcritical of you, but at the same time, we are getting married, so I just want to make sure I'm sure when I say yes.
Yeah.
Relax, you seem very stressed.
I'm trying to chill.
Yeah.
You need to.
I'm not chill though.
No, she's great though.
Okay. And for a while now, Nick has been extremely accommodating. Like, really just bending over backwards and smoothing things over, which I don't know what that means. On one hand, it could just mean that he's in love and he's easygoing, or it could mean that he's beaten down, or it could mean he's not really interested in the relationship. He's not really invested. He's already decided that he's a no at the altar, and he just doesn't really have skin in the game. I don't know. But then the mom says, chill, relax. It's interesting because that's not really what I would be thinking if I were in the mom's shoes. I think what the mom is saying is you need to stop getting on his case and being overly critical and overly vigilant. But she says you have to relax. I don't know if that's the thing that I'd be saying. Well, as a therapist, I can't get away from my therapistness, and if I could, I wouldn't in this scenario because it would really drag the conversation to a halt. But if I were asked by Hannah to talk with her about this professionally, I would ask her, okay, what are you afraid of? What is the fear? Because there are some very rational fears that one would have. Being rejected, marrying the wrong person. But I also wonder if there's some other fear there, like marrying someone that isn't laudable, someone that isn't very prestigious, or they don't look the part, that he isn't refined, or he doesn't come across like an alpha or whatever. I don't have any data along those lines, but I could see how she would want a more smooth guy, It's interesting because in the pods, Nick was identified by a lot of women as being really charismatic and Rico Suave and like super cool. But maybe it's because we could see him and see his body language, or I don't know, or they were editing in the moments when it wasn't really that way. And maybe other people see him that way. I don't know. That's one of the things about recording these episodes so far in advance is that I don't know really how I've read comments up until a certain point, but I don't know. So maybe everyone sees him, but at the very least we know that a lot of cast members and that interaction with the ducks, right, was pretty Dorka, if you will. Yeah. So I would want to know what Hannah is specifically worried about, and if there's another way that she can soothe that fear or work on that fear that doesn't involve making Nick feel like crap,
And you guys did a great job of raising her too.
Thank you.
I'll just say, you're leaving her in good hands. I've always been someone to give something my all, whatever I do, whether it's school or football or a relationship. That's my teammate, right? So I'm always going to be in her corner.
There's something odd about, maybe he is just so, I don't know what word, I was going to say simple, but some usages of the term simple is simple-minded or not intelligent. That's not what I mean. Just not complicated, maybe is a better term, that he is saying things that are just from a very non-complicated place. Yeah, I think about season 1 with Cam and Lauren. Cam came across as a very uncomplicated dude, although he did rap. So that adds a little flavor to the uncomplication. But I wonder if Nick is just really uncomplicated, or if he is shining them on, he feels like he has to prove himself, or he's not really invested and he's just making shit up, or I don't know. Because the way that he talks, it comes across like a Hallmark card, It doesn't have a lot of, but that's just me. So I would say that if I were the dad, and if I felt like it was my job to somehow vet this, and the parents, it's interesting to see the different families and their reactions. The parents, I don't think I showed this bit, but the parents are just like, because Hannah was like, are you going to grill him? And the parents are like, we're not going to grill him. We're sure that you grilled him. And what's it to us? You're marrying him. He's not going to be attached to us, which is, debatable because family members, but they're saying, look, this is your choice. And, you can make that choice. It's not up to us to gatekeep for you. Do what you got to do. And that's a very northwestern European ancestry cultural phenomenon element that independence and, not being involved, live and let live kind of thing. Pros and cons, right? The pro is that you don't have parents telling you what to do when you're 26. But the con is that there's not a lot of involvement. There's a fair amount of distance. And so we can all for ourselves decide what kind of style we want to have. But the mom and dad are saying that, so do what you got to do. It's up to you.
In life, things get tough.
Yeah.
You need somebody to help you through it.
Your best friend, right?
Yeah.
We need to be there for each other.
Before we leave, Nick, don't forget you need to go grab that hat.
I'll go get it.
And in the middle of at least the way it's edited, she tells him what to do, and he jumps up and does it. Now, maybe this was just some excuse so that they could talk as a family without him there.
I mean, he's nice, he's polite.
I like the guy. Do I know him? No, I don't know him. But he seems like his head's in the right place.
No, I do really like him and love him and I enjoy him and stuff. There's just characteristics and things he does that...
Well, Hannah, if that was the case, we would have thrown you out a long time ago.
Yeah.
Okay. Hannah doesn't seem to enjoy that comment, so I wonder what's going on. The way that Hannah said, she's young, 26. I was a therapist at 26. I graduated with my degree as a therapist and when I was 26. So sometimes I have to remind, but was I mature? No. Am I mature now? No, in some ways. What is maturity? That's a question. But in terms of wisdom and seriousness, maybe that's the word I'm looking for. It's a serious topic. It's a serious situation. You are contemplating marrying someone, or at the very least, you're acting like you are contemplating getting married. It's a very sober, serious, important, weighty decision and moment. And the way that she extremely flippantly said, yeah, no, I like him, I love him, and I enjoy him, and all that kind of stuff. But I'm annoyed with him. I don't know what that represents. To me, it either says she doesn't really want to marry him, and might not have wanted to for a long time. Maybe not even from the beginning, because if you look back at the generation of this relationship, she had Leo as her number one, and Nick was a distant number two, and she broke up with Nick. And I'm remembering the way that she broke up with him was, not great. I was wondering if, when she broke up with him, if she had gone into that date or that pod meeting not knowing she was going to break up with him, and so she everything happened so quick. And then in the lounge, she did feel bad, but then she brings him back on the show, and then, at least in the edit, she says, well, Leo is, still my number one. And then when Leo starts talking about Brittany and then, that whole thing started happening, then she's like, oh, I don't want to be with Leo. I guess I'll be with Nick. I don't know. But for Hannah, the way that she talks about this, it's so either she's not invested, which, what are you going to do? I suppose there's two versions of that, which is that she was never invested and she's fake and she's just doing this to get on a reality TV show, which happens sometimes. For some people, I wonder if they were legitimately on the show in the pods, maybe even legitimately kind of in the hallway, but after meeting and, testing out the relationship, they're just like, oh no, there's no way I'm going to spend the rest of my life, or at least maybe, but I will not know in 3 weeks whether or not I want to spend, I will not be sure that this is the right person. Anyway, So there's different gradients. So either she's fake, or she is just, or she's real and she just is really on the fence about me. But anyway, the other version of this is that she is consciously in it and maybe even planning on saying yes at the altar, but she doesn't really understand the weight of it. I hate to do this, but if we imagined like a 13-year-old who was raised well enough and they were tasked with deciding who they were going to marry and well, this happens sometimes, right? You'll have a 13-year-old who will engage in a boyfriend-girlfriend relationship, or in a romantic relationship, boyfriend, girlfriend, you get my point. And they are 13 years old and their partner is 13, and they, after a few days will tell the world that this is the person that they want to marry and spend the rest of their life with. Not always, it's pretty rare, but it can happen. From the outside, you would not regard that commitment as likely. You could put a lot of money down that these two individuals are not going to get married, and you would take everything they're saying with a grain of salt, and you might even hear them say things along these lines. They might just say, yeah, no, I like him, I love him, and I enjoy him, but he annoys me. So you might hear that kind of sentiment from them, because the 13-year-old has not lived enough life and has not matured enough to understand what they're getting into. They're operating on their feelings. They're not thinking about the big picture. They haven't developed the neuron and the neuronal connections or the strength of connections to comprehend the weight of a decision like this and the impact it can have on themselves and other people. I'm not saying that Hannah is like a 13-year-old, but it does raise that question.
You got to overlook some stuff.
You got to decide what
You know,
you
what
can live
what
with
is
and what
worth
you can't. Yeah,
what is worth really nitpicking over?
Like-
What isn't? Let things go.
chewing, like chomping. I can't stand it. So Dad knows to eat in the closet.
So let those small things go.
Everyone's gonna have flaws.
Somebody you can
All right, so a little peek into the parents' relationship. We're hearing very little information, but that last little bit raises the question about Hannah having her parents model for Hannah what marriage and relationships are supposed to look like, and how there were earlier, I don't know if I showed the clip, but Nick and Hannah were saying that for Nick was like, as soon as I met her, I knew she was the one. And Hannah's like, he grew on me. And then Hannah's parents said, oh, that was the same thing. And the two men looked at each other and said, oh, isn't that the way that it is? As if all heterosexual relationships are that way. We have an N of two, therefore we can generalize that to the entire world. It's just kind of funny how people will do that. Anyway, so they are, the parents were kind of saying that, it's not here nor there. And then the mom says, you got to put up with things like, I hate chomping. And what I thought she was going to say is, I have to learn how to deal with it. But then she says, that's why Dad eats in the closet. I'm guessing he doesn't eat in the closet. Who knows? But maybe that's a little peek into their dynamic where the mom does nitpick and doesn't try to change her phobias or her attitudes about that, and instead imposes on others. And that's that dynamic between them. Sometimes that can be okay. It depends, right? If, like my wife has a phobia, I won't mention what the phobia is, but it's not a commonly experienced trigger of the phobia, but, it's a pretty significant one. And I don't make her deal with it on her own. I try to help her with it. I try to, if I see the triggers, I'll try to steer her away or say, don't look over there. And so it's a visual based trigger. If people are curious, it's a common, and I actually have a minor version of this phobia. I'll just say what it is. It's the phobia of holes. Anyway, I have a minor version of this, and My wife has an intense version of it, and it's common. A good percentage of people have, to some degree, this phobia. It's a visual phobia, and it really is, it really creeps people out. For me, when I experience it, I'll go, ooh, but I kind of force myself because to avoid actually can intensify the phobia. So I kind of force I don't like that feel. And so I kind of focus on it, and eventually I recover. And so my phobia hasn't gotten worse over time because of that. Anyway, there's different strategies. And if you're having trouble, talk with a clinician that understands exposure therapy. But my point is that there's a known common phobia about eating noises or body noises, and maybe the dad just accommodates for that. There's nothing wrong with that. So I don't know. I don't know what we're seeing.
Joke with somebody that you can see yourself with. If you think he's going to be treating you good, that's the most important thing.
I'm glad you guys like him. I like him too.
I like him.
That's just how I am.
Don't overthink it, but don't underthink it.
Yeah, I know. I just feel like I
But
should
it's
be
what you put into it.
more in love and having fun instead of just stressing out.
You're the
It's
one.
me.
I can't hear. I need to turn on the subtitles. I think she said, "That's who I am." I'm gonna rewind that.
Joke with somebody that you can see yourself with. If you think he's going to be treating you good, that's the most important thing.
I'm glad you guys like him. I like him too.
I like him.
That's just how I am.
I'm stressed. I like him. That's just how I am. They didn't do all of the subtitles. There was something that she said there that I'm gonna rewind it.
Most important thing.
I'm glad you guys like him. I like him too.
I like him.
That's just how I am.
I'm glad you guys like him, and so she says that real quick. I'm stressed. That's just how I am. Okay.
Don't overthink.
I got a lot going on, she says. Okay, I think what she is trying to communicate and the body language, I think, is either she feels judged or pressured, or she isn't used to asking her parents for advice or something. Who knows? But given the parents' investment and their attitude about her being on the reality TV show, they're pretty hands-off. Pros and cons of that, right? On one hand, the parents are being very respectful of their adult daughter's decisions, and they're not invasive or enmeshed. And maybe that's all that it is, but it also could be distant as well in a pathological way. And I don't have any evidence of that, but if we run with that hypothesis, then it's possible that they were distant throughout the children's lives, Cade and Hannah. And it's possible that that resulted in a vibe for young Hannah that was neglectful. And one of the defenses, or at least on the spectrum, maybe not extreme, but a little bit. And one of the defenses available to children when they do feel left alone is to develop a grandiose sense of self and a avoidance of closeness, because they learn that to try to be close is to be neglected and rejected and alone in the end. So don't be vulnerable. I'm okay doing things on my own. I'm very independent. So there are some themes to the way that the family and Hannah has talked about her own dating in the past. Like it sounds like they're agreeing that Hannah will nitpick and then break up. And what can happen for people that have avoidant attachment as a result of being mildly neglected growing up, mildly or severely neglected emotionally growing up, is that deep down they, I always say that underneath every avoidant, dismissive, attached individual is a preoccupied, anxious, borderline individual, in that they desperately want closeness and desperately want security and a relationship and to be loved, but they have turned themselves off from that need and they don't feel it. They don't notice it, but it's happening. And so they have it, and it's motivating them to engage in romantic relationships, and they do it kind of passively. They might even choose people that are very much in love with them because the other person bridges that gap. That can happen. Avoidant people can sometimes attract a preoccupied person because the preoccupied person will close. Because if two avoidant people get together, sometimes they don't bridge the gap. They both stay pretty distant, and then it just sort of drifts apart because there's no chemistry, there's no vibe. But the avoidant person, so if I don't know if Nick is preoccupied, but he definitely is pursuing, right? And so that bridges that gap. And then for Hannah, that brings that closeness that she really wants, but is afraid to enact and ask for and be vulnerable around. And she doesn't consciously feel that need, but it's there. And so this is happening. But as this gets closer, then there's more at stake. And to the avoidant person, they start to worry that I'm feeling urges to open up. There's more dependence here. There's more at stake. I'm going to eventually be rejected emotionally. And so at the first sign of any kind of conflict or rub or displeasure, the avoidant person will just bounce, either by breaking up or in their mind or by diving into work or addiction or something else. And by doing this, they're trying to modulate that fear. And they might actually consciously say, oh, I don't like that about that person. And I wonder if we're seeing that here.
Yeah, I know. I just feel like I
But
should
it's
be
what you put into it.
more in love and having fun instead of just stressing
you
out.
are.
Okay, and the parents aren't really listening to her. I wish that they would, but they're not. She's saying, I wish that I was more in love. Instead, I'm just stressed out. That's interesting. What'd she say exactly?
I know. I just feel like I
But
should
it's
be
what you put into it.
more in love and having.
I just feel like I should be more in love having fun. Instead, I'm just stressed out. I should be in love. I think what that is communicating is that she's a no at the altar, or she doesn't really want to be with him, and she's reflecting on her feelings and saying, I feel like I should just feel more in the flow and more in love and more happy and more elated and enjoying this relationship, but instead, but I'm not feeling that. And then she says, instead, I'm stressed out. I wonder what that stressed out means. Stressed out. If I had to take a guess, one guess is that she's stressed because she doesn't know what to do, and or she knows that she's going to have to break up with him or say no at the altar, or she's feeling pressure to maybe even internal pressure or something and stressing her out. But yeah, I wish that the parents would listen to this because this could be a good conversation. Oh, okay, so you don't feel like you're as in love as you should? Tell me more about that.
Instead of
But
just stressing out.
you're the
It's
one
me, I know,
blocking
it's
it.
my
It's
problem.
not him. He seems pretty relaxed. You are
Am I really?
yeah, bad. You are.
Maybe I need a massage.
You have a new friend.
Yeah, the parents are trying to help. The message clearly from the mom is you have to relax and enjoy yourself, and maybe that's good advice. But I don't think it's as simple as that. But maybe this will help, and maybe it will. I could see this helping, but it's way more complicated than that. If she relax, maybe the love will emerge, but maybe the discomfort and the stress that Hannah is feeling is pointing at something that needs to be looked at.
Give you a massage.
He wouldn't give me a massage. He won't even suck my toe.
Oh, God.
I don't know what they're referring to, but there are those kinds of enjoyments in life. So maybe we're hearing a glimpse of the bedroom. I'm glad Nick has boundaries.
What the hell are you talking about?
And it's pretty fun. I want to rewind that because seeing both the parents and their reaction, Dad's like, oh, no.
He wouldn't give me a massage. He won't even suck my toe.
Oh, God. What the hell are you talking about?
I can't imagine if Cade were there, how much they must put the dad in a uncomfortable place. Maybe this is a little bit of that, that Hannah and Cade really, they both encourage each other to go in directions. So I imagine that family dinners are quite lively along those lines. All right, well, that is it for that episode. Everyone out there, please take care of yourself because you deserve it. You really, really do.